Praise the Lord, everyone. Dr. Brian Scott with you. We have been sharing insight to the end times with you now for a good lengthy period. Where this particular podcast right now is number 149. And that means we're in week number 24, or actually week 25, I should say. And we're excited about what we've been able to share with you over these days. I'm looking today at the fact that the tribulation is going to be here soon. Every believer wants to be raptured out of the world before the tribulation. That's called the pre-tribulation rapture. Yesterday we looked at what happens if you miss it and you have to go through part of the tribulation. I want to continue that today because once the tribulation period begins, there's a lot of activity going on that is going to be very, very heavy duty. And I don't know why any Christian would want to live so loosey-goosey as to expose themselves to the opportunity of missing the tribulation, the rapture before the tribulation period. But should you miss it, there will be a special group of evangelists that God calls out. There's 144,000 Jewish evangelists, 12,000 from each of the 12 original tribes. And they will be ministering the gospel of salvation to the world during the first 3.5 years of the tribulation. That's the first half. It's the lesser intense half, I guess you could say. Revelation speaks about a mid-tribulation point coming at the mid-tribulation at 3.5 years. And we'll speak about that in just a moment. But these 144,000 evangelists, they have an assignment to get as many people saved as possible during this period. In Romans chapter 11, verses 25 to 27, it says that God desires that all Israel be saved. All Israel be saved. This is a covenant promise from God to his people. We can anticipate this to be the case. I don't know whether that means 100% or just such a high percentage that we would conclude that all of Israel has been saved. Secondly, in the book of Zechariah, Old Testament, chapter 8, verse 23, it says there that for every Jewish man, there will be 10 Gentile men who will come to them and say, we want to follow the same Lord you're following. We can conclude that there will be 10 times as many Gentiles, that means non-Jewish, people being saved during this period under the ministry of the 144,000. So that's a good ratio, 10-1. Praise the Lord. Now, you might think, wow, that's a lot of people. Well, maybe it isn't. I did a search yesterday on my computer, and I was asking the computer to answer this question: how many Jewish people are there in the world? And the answer that they gave as of 2020, 2 years ago, they gave this answer. Around 15 million Jewish people are core Jewish people. That means they are really fundamentally solid Jewish believers. Then they gave several other categorizations, and they brought it out to a grand total of just under 24 million who would qualify to return to Israel under their return policy for Jewish people or Jewish extended people. 24 million. So if all of Israel is to be saved, that's 24 million people. That's not a lot of people. And if it's 10-1 Gentiles, that would be upwards of between 150 million and 240 million. I'm rounding some of these numbers off slightly. That still isn't a lot of people. So if you were to add the 150 and 15, you get 165 million on the low side, and you get as many as 265 or so million on the high side. But when you consider the world has almost 8 billion people, that's not a lot of new people being born again. So let's say it's 250,000, 250 million, just round figures. How many Christians so-called Christians who miss the pre-tribulation rapture. How many of them? I don't know, but Revelation chapter 7 tells us in verses 9 through 17 that there is an innumerable company of saints who are appearing in heaven, dressed in white robes, carrying palm leaves. The question is asked, who are they and where did they come from? And the answer is, these are they who washed their robes white in the blood of the Lamb. In other words, these are believers who weren't on fire, missed the pre-trib rapture, realized what the mistake they had made, and they got in line with things, and they repented, they recommitted themselves, and they have washed their robes, or they've washed their lives with the blood of the Lamb. They repented, and they're claiming salvation through the blood of the Lamb. So praise the Lord. That's an innumerable company. That's a lot of people. But here's the problem. I'm running out of time, but here's the problem. They have to go through part of the tribulation before this occurs. It occurs at mid-tribulation. Please don't treat your Christianity lightly. We're almost at the end of days. Turn it around and get red hot for Jesus once again. We have one more session this week. I'll see you tomorrow. Look forward to it. Bye for now.